Okay, so let's just talk about the fact that the BFDIA Final 3 is Needle, Tennis Ball, and Book. Like, oh my god. This trash Final 3 just ruined the season for me. The thing is, none of the characters are, like, horrible. It's just, like, the dynamic doesn't work, and it's all over the place. So, why is this? Well, before we analyse the Final 3, we have to go back a bit. Back to the Final 6. Okay, this is where BFDIA peaked. I mean, you had pretty much every stereotypical reality show character here. You've got 2 contestants who wanted to win, Coiny and Needle, but for different reasons. You've got a villain who had beef with a sympathetic underdog, aka Book and Pin. You've got the goofy comedy relief character, it's kind of Tennis Ball, and that wild card, which we all know as Fries. Now, why was this Final 6 so entertaining? Well, I mean, it had basically everything. You had conflicts, you had friendships, but those conflicts and friendships didn't feel forced, they felt genuine. And that's the only reason. And, oh well, I mean, also eliminated contestants, but that's what made the dynamics so interesting. So let's have a look at the 3 contestants who didn't make the Final 3 from the Final 6. Okay, we're starting off with Fries. Personally, his elimination was just not what I expected. I think the reason why there was just such a big gap in votes between the expected votes and the real votes was because Tennis Ball's likes were botted, and the extension uses likes to estimate dislikes. But apart from that, yeah, I think Fries going was really where the season started to go downhill for me. Fries as the wild card was one of my favourite parts of BFDI. The fact that he didn't play any side and he just did whatever the hell he wanted, which usually wasn't great, but I think it was entertaining, and he would have worked in a Final 3, basically any Final 3, honestly. Him winning is a different story, but at the end of the day, he was a mean character, well, quote-unquote mean, and, you know, kids are always going to be a huge part of the Object Show community, and little kids do not like mean characters. It's not the first day knowing about this, but yeah. In hindsight, it's not that surprising he got out, but it's really disappointing, to say the least. Next up, we have Pin, and, yeah, it's not that surprising she got out. I mean, she was basically what some kids considered the devil of BFDI. It's a miracle she even made it to 5th, which came along by a string of immunities. But you know, luck does eventually run out. She was eliminated in a huge landslide against Coiny. I think she went where she should have, if not maybe a bit early. I think she could have lasted one more episode. But I'm happy that, you know, she got to resolve her arc with Coiny. I think that would have been a BFDIA 22 was a good place for her to go, and she got an amazing role in the same episode anyway. So she was due. It was a long time coming where Pin would get out, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with her elimination. I think she went where she did. She didn't overstay her welcome. Yeah. Webs for Ebs. It's not misogyny. And honestly, this might genuinely be one of the most disappointing eliminations in all of BFDI history. Yeah, I know I'm going into this with a bunch of bias because Coiny is my second favourite character, but holy, his elimination was so disappointing. After his talk with Pin in BFDIA 21, there was like literally no doubt that he was going to win the season. In the span of one episode, that flipped. The writers basically sidelined him. Honestly, I think it feels like he's set up the episode. And then in our vote, he barely missed out on the Final 3, so holy crap, viewers, lock in. As much as I like, you know, Needle, I think Coiny would have been a far better choice to be in the Final 3, unfortunately. Okay, but seriously, how is he not in the final 3? I'm so mad. It's like no apparent reason for his elimination, and up until that point, Book and Needle like always gotten more dislikes than him. And he didn't win a single merge challenge, which it's not. I'm not even sad. I'm just disappointed. The more you look into BFDIA 22, the more you realise Coiny is literally written out. Like, he was standing at his grave. He was cooked. And honestly, now we just have a completely boring final 3. You know, the final 4 was already cooked. Then you got the only good character. Well, not the only good character, I like Needle. But basically the only character who isn't just nice and doesn't cause absolute havoc out. The moment you got Coiny out, I just gave up on BFDIA. Coiny was my last hope, looking back. So, another part you've all been waiting for, where I talk about Final 3. Look, I don't hate any of these guys, but seriously, you guys picked 2 contestants who already have Teapot, and 1 contestant who deserves to be there, genuinely. It's not like I hate any of them. I generally like all of them, honestly. Book is a bit boring at times, but, you know, I still enjoy her occasionally. But these 3 as a trio? Oh my god. You don't want to know why? Because every conflict this final 3 just feels forced. I guess Needle and TB kind of feels earned, you know, the pact and stuff. But that feels off as well. Don't even get me started on Book. She's just a sore. She sticks out like a sore thumb. She's nice. She's not only nice, she's just doing dumb stuff that jeopardizes her winning. Yeah, how am I supposed to feel bad when she's pulling random stunts like this?
Leave them there. They clearly weren't skilled enough to navigate this. What did you say?
She's nothing but nice. And honestly, with Pin or Coiny or Fries, I'd like that. But Needle and Tennis Ball, they are not the type of person to bounces off Book's kindness well. It's kind of boring. Like, Tennis Ball and Book is a slightly better, you know, finale dynamic than Book and Needle, honestly. I love Needle, but Jesus, why? Honestly, Needle and Tennis Ball both feel really weak, so yeah, a good final 3 should have all 3 characters bounce off each other incredibly well. But before we get to what I think could be our better final 3s and why they work, let's talk about the actual finals. TB's out, pretty obviously, next episode. So let's talk about him first. He's probably the bad guy of his final 3, but it doesn't really show. But they obviously want him to sort of feel like a bad guy, but honestly, he's just kind of a nerd. Yeah, he's just over-dramatic evil villain. That's what Tennis Ball is. It's not a real threat, honestly, it's just an obstacle. Kind of plot. Needle is the best character out of the 3, and with her whole winning for herself arc, but honestly, that arc is just kind of dead. And she's got plenty of problems. I love the talk pencil, but it was forced. It was so forced. The competitiveness is great. That's why I think she deserves to be in the final 3. But there are no stakes here. You're competing against a clumsy tennis ball, like godforsaken dictionary. You're not against much here. So, you know, you don't really have to sprint, considering, like, everything. Oh my god. And Book. Why is she still in the game? And she's on her way to win. If Book wins, I might genuinely just migrate to musical theatre. Yes, she's an underdog. Well, she was an underdog. But there's a thin line between being an underdog and just being a freaking loser. Book is really far past that line. The losing streak was interesting, and the drill was, like, pretty interesting too for the first time. But repeat that a couple more times, and yeah, the character's just not only getting stale, but now everyone's just falling for the sympathy bait. She doesn't deserve to win. Because she lost like 5, 6 challenges in a row. Could have been a 7th. If, you know, Needle didn't give her immunity. Could have been 8th, actually. Just for her to win immunity in the worst way possible. They really wanted to do the season right. Should have given her immunity in the 22. So then Coiny wouldn't get it. So then Coiny would be safe with the tennis ball. And we'd actually have a slightly less final 3. Even though I think Book is the main problem with this final 3. Like, we've waited like over 10 years. Just for the winner to be another stereotypical nice character. Nice one, viewers! Honestly, the entire Final 3 just got problems. Yeah, they've all got individual quote-unquote personalities, but they're just generally nice, and that's just completely ruined the season. So what's an actually good Final 3, I hear you ask? Well, it's not Book and Needle, and yeah, Terrace Ball, honestly. It's gonna be a horrible finale. But, okay. What would be a good Final 3? Well, I think there are obviously different types of characters in the Final 6. So let's sort them out. So, here's a tier list showing everyone, showing where I'd place everyone between heavyweight and lightweight. Heavyweights are like characters who stir up chaos. Either they just don't care, like Fries, or they're just straight up malicious, like a certain Pin. Lightweights are nice, kind, and generally don't do much damage, but they're nice, they're sympathetic, they're really easy to like, and honestly, you've also got to have your lightweights, because they're very standard characters, but you know, that's not a bad thing. You know, nice characters have their appeal because they're helpful and they're charming. You know, they will be nice, and generally they're not bad people, they're good people. And then you've got Coiny, who I consider somewhere between lightweight and heavyweight. It's not like, he's not going to cause crazy trouble, but he's also not the type of guy to just sit back. So, I think his competitiveness makes him medium weight. Now, my problem is, all the Final 3 is entirely lightweight. So, what would be a good Final 3? We want, ideally, a mix of heavyweights and lightweights. All heavyweights, it's boring, it's just a clash jumble. Everyone's just doing their own thing, it's not entertaining. But lightweights, the dynamics have nothing to bounce off of. Everyone's just nice to each other, and it'll be another BFB 29 situation, which none of us want that. I assure you, none of us want that. So, what would be an actually good Final 3? Well, okay, call me biased, but it needs Coiny in it. Yeah, Coiny is just like the main star at BFDIA. He's a good middle ground between lightweight and heavyweight. It's kind of got to be in here. Now that we've got Coiny, I don't think we need Pin, which means Fries probably be pretty good in the Final 3. And I know, he would be pretty good in any Final 3. Just not like Pin, because Pin's a big heavyweight. But I think it's very entertaining to start up chaos. Coiny versus Fries would be very, very funny, very, very interesting. Now we need one lightweight, so one character to keep from the canon Final 3. I pick Needle. I think we should make Needle. I think Needle is absolutely the least boring out of these 3. Her waiting for herself arc could probably be expanded upon here. And she has beef with both Coiny and Fries. So, Fries Mom and stuff. Which means all 3 Final 3ers have 2 interesting dynamics. Which is basically everything we want from a good finale. So, yeah, I think Fries, Coiny, Needle could have been an elite finale, but we did miss out on that, unfortunately. But with the direction that, everything is going in right now, there's no doubt that Book's going to win BFDIA. Tennis Ball's out next round, then it's a Book against Needle in the finale, and Book wins. Yeah. I think it's not too hard to predict, unfortunately. Could have been so much better, but you know, it's life. Right, thanks for watching, if you actually did watch. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and I don't know, hit the bell while you're at it. Just a thought. Right, I'll see you in the next one.